What's going on, everybody? I'm Matt Harmon, and welcome to our first primetime Island game recap of the 2025 NFL season. Man, what a time to be alive. I'm feeling absolutely great after that game that we just watched. Eagles 24, Cowboys 20. Let's just get this out of the way here real quick off the top. That was a weird one. I mean, for God's sakes, we've got the Super Bowl champs, the Cowboys coming into the whole thing. Big game, get it. It gets weird right away. Obviously, if you watched the game, if you paid attention for even half a second, you know that Jalen Carter was ejected. Jalen Carter, a possible defensive player of the year candidate, an ascending, top line defender in the entire league, regardless of position. He's booted from the game before a single snap on offense, defense, whatever, for spitting on Dak Prescott. I'm not going to get into who spat first, who he spit, she spit, whatever. Who's the spitter, whatever. There's a second spitter. I'm not getting into any of that. But again, just that was insane. So the game starts off on a crazy note. Then we get this long ass lightning delay. So I always would have planned to come in here and say, I don't want to overreact to week one. I don't want to overreact to what we saw and over index on everything. But man, if there was ever a game not to overreact to, it probably is a very peculiar game like this one, where we were just launching towards a classic fantasy football bonanza, a shootout, a classic we're going to get point for point for point for point. We had 8 straight drives with a score. Then Miles Sanders fumbles when the Cowboys are in scoring position. Then every drive, then we get a 60-minute weather delay, and then the drives go punt, 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 turnover on downs, end of game. Again, the game ends at a 44-point total. It goes under the projected point total of the week. So again, just a very, very weird, bizarre game that I don't want to over-index too much on what happened here. That being said, I have 3 things that I think are really important to talk about from this game. Number one, the Eagles' run game was great. Again, it was sustaining. Will Shipley even popped in for a couple of nice runs. A.J. Dillon had a 9-yard run at one point in this game. Obviously, I think the Cowboys at times did a pretty good job stuffing the run up the gut, but they were vulnerable on the edges. That being said, again, 2 pieces of context there. Landon Dickerson was out of this game for long stretches with an injury. Of course, there were other injuries on the interior for the Eagles offensive line, so maybe that is contributing to the lack of rushing success up the middle, but still great tackles on the edge. Philly's going to get you no matter what there. I thought Dallas's defensive line was kind of mixed from a performance standard. Again, the interior guys I think did play well. Marshawn Nealon had a nice game on the edge, but by and large, they were still able to get out on the edge and run the football on the perimeter where the Eagles. Jalen Hurts was super impactful as a scrambler. I'm glad Nate kind of talked me out of taking the damn under on his rushing yards because he had 14 for 62 and 2 touchdowns. I will say Jalen Hurts looked a lot quicker, a lot more spry in this game than I can remember, honestly, for the last year and a half. So that's super important to track going forward, because if he continues to run like that as a proactive scrambler, and it really was hey, he's feeling any bit of pressure on the edges, he's feeling some heat up the middle, he's just going to make the first guy miss and just rip that thing up the gut. And that's when I think Jalen Hurts is at his best as a scrambler, when he's instinctive, when he makes decisions fast, and he just gets out of there. There were a lot of plays like that in this game tonight. That was really impressive to see. And I think if Hurts plays that way, he is going to be closer to the top 3 big dog elite fantasy quarterbacks than he's going to be to Joe Burrow or some of those other middle men at the fantasy quarterback position. So if we continue to see that, Hurts is going to rise in that way. The other part of this is obviously dovetails into this point is just the Eagles kind of took the air out of the football. 23 pass attempts for Jalen Hurts in this game. A.J. Brown did not receive a target. Yes, A.J. Brown, pretty damn good player, did not receive a target until the very end of the game. Okay, it was crazy. Devontae Smith, kind of a quiet night for him as well. 3 for 16. Jahan Dotson, look, I'm sorry. if I'm overreacting to week one, Jahan Dotson leading wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, why the hell not, baby? Of course, that's not accurate. Although I will say, been talking about it ever so quietly this summer that Jahan Dotson was getting good reviews from camp. People are saying that, hey, he's looking a lot better. He's going to be more dialed in now that he's got a full off season with this team instead of being traded like at the very end of August like he was last year. The yards per out run bros were killing Jahan Dotson last year. I'm not saying he's about to be a superstar. I'm not saying he's about to start for your fantasy team, but I do think he's going to be a nice, useful player that might mess up the target distribution just ever so slightly in this game or for this team this season. But again, I'm not over indexing on what happened in this game. There's a low floor for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith when they're running the ball like this. They're not going to run the ball like this every single game. I wouldn't freak out too much for A.J. Brown and these guys. There's a reason that they were priced where they were from an ADP standpoint is because they were not playing in pass-heavy offenses. So, again, weird game on that regard, but this is always possible when you get this Eagles offense running the ball like they were against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. Last 2 points are about the Cowboys and their offense. Number one, I just got to get it out of the way. Javonte Williams. If you were a Javonte Williams proactive drafter, which my God, how many of those were there out there? Big night for the Javonte Williams bros. Of course, he handled the 2 goal line touchdowns. That was obviously important. He handled 100% of the Cowboys touches, running back touches inside the 10, inside the 5-yard line. But even more importantly, he just handled 77.3% of the backfield touches overall. Rookie Jaden Blue was a healthy scratch in this game. Miles Sanders, I don't think, made himself any friends in this game. He did rip off that one long run, but was tackled from behind by Zach Bond and then followed that up with the fumble inside the red zone. So don't think Miles Sanders is suddenly pushing for more playing time here. I mean, the reality is, like, you're a starting running back for an offense that I think is going to be really damn good. And I come out of this game, we'll touch on more on this in a second, thinking this Cowboys offense is going to be really damn good. You're going to score some fantasy points. I don't know if Javonte Williams is going to handle 77.3% of the backfield touches every single week, but I don't think Miles Sanders did much to push him in this game. And Jaden Blue, obviously, has got a long way to go. He was a healthy scratch in this game. I'm sure he will have games where he's playing, maybe even next week after what the team saw out of Miles Sanders tonight. But still, long way to go for Jaden Blue to make an impact. He's a rookie. He's coming off an injury, not writing him off for the rest of the season. But certainly right now, it looks like Javonte Williams is locked in as the starting running back here. And this, he needed the goal line carries to come through in this game. Guess what? This team is going to have goal line opportunities because the offense looks really, really good. And that is my third and final point for this Thursday night season opener recap, is that I think the first look at the Cowboys kind of slightly new look passing game was really good. I came away feeling pretty good about it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. CeeDee Lamb, just a rough game. Just a rough game from CeeDee Lamb tonight. I know we're showing this on the screen right now if you're watching this on YouTube. 4 drops. If we're getting technical here, I think it's probably closer to maybe 2 or 3 drops. I'd have to actually watch it on film, and one of them might be like a contested catch loss if you're actually charting this out, and these sort of things do matter. That being said, you're a $30+ million receiver. You're one of the elite guys in the league, a top 5 receiver, bare minimum. You got to make those catches. You got to grab them. It just is what it is. But guys have bad nights. This stuff happens. If you followed my content for any stretch of time, you know that I don't love to overemphasize drops because it's a very fickle stat. And, what matters honestly more is what you do when you do catch the ball. But those were some moments where they were big drops. They were key moments. CeeDee Lamb's not letting himself off the hook. I'm not letting him off the hook here. That's just that won't happen every single game. I'm not worried about it going forward, but it was a bummer to see because, man, especially that deep one in the fourth quarter. Like, we're talking about that changing the tide of the game potentially. And it was a great throw down the field by Dak Prescott. I think Dak played well in this game. He threw a couple of, look, NFL Twitter, the smart folks on NFL Twitter are always going to glaze Dak because he's great, pre-snap, all that stuff. And I think Dak played an awesome game tonight. It was super encouraging considering he didn't play well in 2024 before the injury. But he threw a couple of he's trying to get Jake Ferguson sent to the damn hospital. Okay. Like, there were a lot of tight window throws that he loves to try. He's aggressive doing it, and those end up being 50-50 balls, and they weren't always on the side of the Cowboys, tight ends and kind of secondary and tertiary players. To that point, too, didn't get a ton out of George Pickens in this game. Obviously not a big fantasy performance, but a couple of encouraging things. A couple of things we learned here. He did draw a deep pass interference flag. There were a couple close misses there. I'm not concerned about Pickens going forward. He's going to have volatile games because he is a true X receiver that was drawing Quinyon Mitchell on, I'm going to ballpark it just based on some of the in-game numbers I was looking at, probably like 80+% of his plays. Quinyon Mitchell is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. You're going to have slow moments when you're a true X receiver going against one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So again, not super concerned about Pickens, but one thing we definitely learned is I always kind of thought this was nonsense. The Cowboys putting out like, oh, we're going to use George Pickens like we use CeeDee Lamb. No, you're not. You traded for George Pickens because he's a true X receiver. He's going to line up outside on the line of scrimmage on the other side of the field from CeeDee Lamb. There are a couple moments where those two guys were on the same side of the field. I actually would like to see a little bit more of that. Have George Pickens as the on-ball X receiver and CeeDee Lamb in the slot kind of stacked right next to him. You could do a lot of fun things there. I think we could see more of that. Probably would have been good, but they were trying to attack Adoree Jackson and to a lot of success early on in the game with CeeDee Lamb. So the usage with George Pickens, him being out there like every single snap as the X receiver, that is what we want. Ultimately, that is going to lead to some volatile moments, but it's going to lead to some big moments when you're not going against one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. So I'd be patient with all of these Cowboys guys because the process was really good. They played up tempo. There was a lot more motion. There were some condensed formations as well. I think Brian Schottenheimer will come out of this game feeling pretty positive about Brian Schottenheimer. So yeah, you're asking for more fantasy points from all of these guys. You're asking CeeDee Lamb to not put the football on the turf, but they get the Giants next week. That's another really good pass rush. I think the offensive line held up well in this game as well. I think Tyler Guyton had a nice game. The interior definitely got fooled a little bit. Some stunts, a few blitzes later on in the game. We got to give this line a chance to gel. It's a rookie starting in Tyler Booker at guard. So overall, though, I come away really impressed with this Cowboys offense and feeling good about what we're going to get from a process standpoint. So the big news is that Javonte Williams looks like he's locked in as a starting running back. And the other big news to me is that I think the bones of this Cowboys offense looks like a unit that we should be investing in our fantasy football teams going forward. All right, that is going to do it for our season opener recap. Just a reminder, our friends at Toyota are all in this season, giving fans a chance to win every week with Toyota Game Day giveaways. If you're looking to get in on the action, just check out toyota.com/NFL to learn more, and good luck.